Na, 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 na.
All right, here we go.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Football Guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
You got to be a champion, which means you got to work that waiver wire. And we are here for you. It is the Week 12 waiver wire show on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom, and quarterbacks, which include our Monday injury rounds. And Dr. Gene Bramall, of course, his report is available at footballguys.com. Want you to go there. Want you to read it every single day. But Justin Fields, left shoulder dislocation. Week to week, he is questionable in week 12. Now, he was seen without a brace, so that's good, but this is a pain issue, and it's a non-throwing shoulder, which is good, but, Bloom, it can still be painful, can still be something to watch. You want more of the injury report, then you check out Dr. Gene Bramall's report at footballguys.com. But now we go to the upgrades, downgrades, and waiver wire report. This is your feature available, yes, at footballguys.com. And there he is, Deshaun Watson, right at the top. I feel like we've talked about it enough.
Yeah.
But now is the time within striking distance that you can get him and you can stash him because, well, he's starting in week 13.
Yeah, and Cleveland's pass offense has some potential. Jacoby Brissett, really, I want to talk about Jacoby Brissett, right? We'll talk about him later for just this week. But the Browns' pass offense, pretty healthy with Amari Cooper. That looks like a good trade. Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku's coming back. So not going to probably get to the playoffs with Deshaun Watson, but maybe Deshaun Watson helps you in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what we care about for sure. Behind him, Ryan Tannehill, 10 to 20%. So he's kind of separate from the rest of the groups here.
Yeah, and if Jimmy Garoppolo's out there, he was like 63% in Yahoo. I would include him here. You know, these may be preferred streamers or Justin Fields, you mentioned that. There's the calculus with Justin Fields includes, hey, this is our franchise quarterback. Yes, he can play through the pain, rest and rehab, things like that. But is it really worth it? Is it really worth it to do that? So I think that we may see, if you have Justin Fields, you certainly have to cover him for week 14. Ryan Tannehill, see, you get the feeling that Mike Vrabel maybe has the league right where he wants him.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's loading up to stop Derrick Henry. And now you have Ryan Tannehill slinging it to Treylon Burks, to Robert Woods, even Austin Hooper getting involved. 2 weeks in a row, Ryan Tannehill's been an excellent passer. And it's going to be really interesting to watch them go up against Cincinnati. And in that game, because we expect this to be a game where these offenses get loose, I think Ryan Tannehill could end up being back to where he was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Ryan Tannehill was a quarterback one in fantasy leagues. And then the pass offense just shriveled up, but it's back to life like sea monkeys.
Right. Sea monkeys. Here we go. We're ready to go with Ryan Tannehill in the big show. And behind him, we got a cluster, Jared Goff and Derek Carr at 5 to 10%. Andy Dalton at 3 to 5%. Let's throw him in there too.
Yeah, and we're going down here. We're doing the churn. Jared Goff, 4 touchdowns. None of them were passing touchdowns. That could definitely change on Thanksgiving against Buffalo. The offense is good. Look, Jameson Williams is practicing. Derek Carr, hearing those calls for his job at least next year, going up this week against Seattle on the road. It could be pretty rough, but you would expect he's going to have to pass some. Andy Dalton had, by some measures, the best game of his career last week, going up against San Francisco. You know he's going to need to score some points. So these are all players that can help you out. No one's on bye this week, but I also mentioned again playing defense on the waiver wire with these quarterbacks trending up in value. You might want to go ahead and keep them on your bench where they can't hurt you in the playoffs if teams end up losing a quarterback or just become dissatisfied with their quarterback by the time we get there.
I am dissatisfied with the rest of the group.
Sure.
I don't know. Jacoby Brissett, 1%.
Yeah.
Mike White, 1%. Bryce Perkins, Trevor Siemian, John Wolford.
Right.
Damn it, I am disapproving of this final group.
Yeah, we're just, being thorough here. Jacoby Brissett can help you out if you need someone this week against Tampa Bay. He threw the ball really well last week. Mike White, and Cecil, I'll just toss it to you this way. If Zach Wilson gets benched, I think Mike White will probably be the backup. We'll watch and see that. But if Zach Wilson truly gets benched, do you think should I be listing Joe Flacco here? Who's the Jets quarterback you want to have in case of Zach Wilson benching?
I think it's Flacco.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way they managed this with Mike White as the backup. So just hold placeholder for Jets backup quarterback, placeholder for Rams backup quarterback. John Wolford had a neck issue. I think he even practiced in full, but wasn't active. So that brought Bryce Perkins. Bryce Perkins actually played pretty well. Cease, another backup quarterback who maybe should have been getting, a third string quarterback, but you saw some great running ability. He passed the ball pretty well. He being thrown into the fire against the Saints in the Superdome, he did pretty well, and he might have some fantasy legs to him. We don't even know who's going to start for the Rams. So you want to keep those moves, monitor them for your 2 quarterback super flex leagues. And then Trevor Siemian, and again, that comes down to whether Justin Fields is going to play this week. What did Matt Eberflus say, Cease? It's day-to-day, but he might miss the rest of the season.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Day to day might be out the rest of the year. That's how we do it here on this show. Speaking of doing it, now we got to do it for the running backs, Bloom, because we have to go to Dr. Gene Brammel's injury report. It is available at footballguys.com. So I want you to go there and I want you to check it out because we're all wondering about all of these injured players. So for running back position, we're going to look at Joe Mixon, concussion protocol, questionable for week 12. That gets us to someone else we're going to talk about, the waiver wire report. But you want all of the full report, then you check out footballguys.com and go there for Dr. Gene Brammel's goodness, Bloom. For your goodness at the running back position, we then go to your report, upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire, and he's our cover athlete. And I want a special spot just for him, Bloom.
Sure.
Even though I got plenty to say about Latavius, I just want to talk about Isiah Pacheco because we've seen glimpses, we've seen flashes, and also during that time, we've seen the team not run the ball.
Yeah.
But when they want to, Isiah Pacheco runs angry. He runs a 4.2, and, well, he should be on your team.
Yeah, definitely. And, we should have been picked up weeks ago, but we'll lead with him because, and it wasn't just that they went heavy with the run. He got over 100 yards against the Chargers in a back and forth game.
Didn't he only have 15 carries?
Yeah, he only had 15 carries, and it was a back and forth game. It wasn't a game they controlled. They should control the game against the Rams this week. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt in this one. So now
Pacheco's been starting for like 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Like he's been starting a long time.
Yeah, and now you're seeing him, I think, really get a chance to take over this backfield, and it's a great environment. You just need to see the rushing touchdowns come. They absolutely could. Again, this matchup against the Rams could be one where he gets over 20 carries to go ahead and salt away what should be an easy win in the Battle of New Orleans, the Battle of Missouri. I'm thinking down in Chalmette, down in January. Come down, they reenact it. I think the war was actually over. The War of 1812 was actually over. But Andrew Jackson's still a hero because they won the Battle of New
Orleans. All right. Get your history lessons and some fantasy football advice from one Sigmund Bloom. Latavius Murray, 20 to 40%. James Cook, 15 to 30%. Samaje Perine, motorboating, 15 to 30%. And let's stop there, Bloom, at Samaje Perine. And with Murray, you have Chase Edmonds on out for a month probably. And then you have Melvin Gordon getting cut. Shocker. And nobody should be shocked here. And you have Latavius Murray taking over. So it's going to be Murray. You have Clint Kubiak calling plays. And I know the score 18. Right? I feel like William Shatner yelling con, but like 18, like they couldn't score that. But they did have 3 scoring drives to open the game. Now, they didn't score on the third drive because Melvin Gordon fumbled. But they don't have to worry about Melvin Gordon anywhere. And Latavius Murray hasn't fumbled in 5 years. Like it's been a long time. But anyway, so it's all Murray in Denver, and with Clint Kubiak calling the plays, they might actually run the ball. He is the first back this year to get more than 15 carries for the Broncos. He got 17 last week.
Didn't do much, but got a touchdown, got some catches out of the backfield. He can still play, and he's worth a running back too, or a flex start. Cecil, one thing I like about this, other than just going back to when Cecil says something about the Broncos, you listen, because whenever they added Murray, you said Murray's the one you want to have. It took a while, but it came to fruition. But this is another classic illustration of the 0th string running back at the beginning of the season matters by the time we get to the fantasy playoffs.
Right. Oh, we're going to talk about Marlon Mack and the 1%ers.
Yeah. Sure. And I was going to, and you mentioned Marlon Mack because we were talking, Trey Sermon, Ronald Jones, and you said Marlon Mack. So hey, I mean, the Broncos are going to run the ball, and sometimes it is just about volume. At this time of the year, if someone's going to get 20 touches in the backfield, that's worth a start. I don't think James Cook is going to get 20 touches, but you see trust and you see the explosiveness that made him a second-round pick. And isn't this a funny story? They draft James Cook, they go out and trade for Nyheim Hines, and now we're back around to, well, maybe it was James Cook all along. And it's the explosiveness, I think, and the quality of the offense. I don't know what's going to happen here if we're going to get the two wires to touch together and make the spark. But if it happens, you're going to want James Cook on your roster. Samaje Perine, you may only get 1 week. You may get 0 weeks. We'll see about Joe Mixon against Tennessee this week. But before Joe Mixon went out, Perine had already scored on a 29-yard screen pass. That should never happen, right? Steelers defense, that should never be a sentence. Scoring on a 29-yard screen pass, unless you have like 4.2 speed. Samaje Perine does not have 4.2 speed, but he had a reception for a touchdown already in that game before Mixon went out. And I wouldn't be surprised if it makes sense to do like a 60-40 kind of split here. So Perine has some value even when Mixon is back, but we are seeing him. He's always been one of the top 3-down backups, and we're seeing his value already come to fruition. You probably didn't have him in your lineup last week. You may not get a chance to put him in your lineup this week, but you see what can happen for your team if he gets that chance with the Cincinnati Bengals offense starting to click on all cylinders.
It's starting to click on all cylinders. So we'll continue on with the conversations about running backs that you need to know. And the next group is Damon Harris, 10 to 20%, Dontrell Hilliard, 7 to 15%, Alexander Madison, and Kyron Williams, both at 5 to 10%.
Yeah, and again, we're getting to that part of the season where you have extra spots on your bench. Those should be backup running backs. And Dontrell Hilliard also has some desperation play value, scored a touchdown last week. So he's 2 weeks in a row in the Fessel League. So I benched McKinnon, would have won if I put him in last week. I benched McKinnon for Hilliard, put McKinnon back in this week. Would have won if I put Hilliard in. What is it about fantasy football that makes us remember our mistakes, right?
No matter what. Idea.
You always remember your mistakes, though. You always remember it.
Well, anyway. It's like a player. A lot of players will tell you, like, they don't remember their good plays, but they can remember every mistake, every missed block that they had. They can remember those.
Yeah. Well, I've been missing some blocks on my Fessel team. I don't even know if I'm going to the playoffs this year. Anyway, Dontrell Hilliard has that explosiveness, has that passing game ability. And if Derrick Henry goes down, they are using Derrick Henry a lot. Alexander Madison, he's a perennial guy on this list. We'll see where he ends up in free agency. I wonder what kind of reception he's going to get in free agency. Kyron Williams, the only reason Kyron Williams is on here now, we found out that Darrell Henderson went out with some sort of knee discomfort, something with his knee early in that game. So we saw more Cam Akers, we'll talk about in a second. Kyron Williams, the reason that there's intrigue here is if this offense becomes more and more limited, lots of dump offs to the running back, right? In garbage time, if this team has a lot of garbage time, lots of dump offs to the running back, and Kyron Williams has fresh legs because he was out hurt for most of the first half of the season. So he's not that backup running back who can take a leap up in value. But if you're looking at your bench and you're thinking, man, if I have an injury and I have to count on one of these guys, I'm in trouble, then Kyron Williams might be better than a backup running back for your bench.
Okay, moving on to our 1%er group. There's our guy, Joe Everett. Appreciate Joe. And a little bit more. Cam Akers, Matt Breida, 3 to 5%, Justin Jackson, 1%, Marlon Mack, 1%, and I'm going to throw in Mike Boone as a 0.5%, just because he'll be back week after Thanksgiving, I believe.
Yeah, and I'll add from the Monday night game Keontae Ingram. So you have Cam Akers, who actually ran the ball okay.
I've already got Keontae Ingram on all my teams, Blue.
Right, that's good.
I love him and Pacheco. I love Pacheco, and I just want Ingram to blow up too.
The third day running backs. Cam Akers was a second rounder that hasn't really panned out. We'll see about the Darrell Henderson injury news, but Akers could at least get 10 to 15 touches. Don't know how much value there's going to be there. Matt Breida, if Saquon Barkley goes down, and look, Barkley gets 35 carries the next week, 15 carries for 22 yards. So Matt Breida, not exactly someone I'm going to be excited to put in my lineup, kind of like Latavius Murray. Not excited to put him in my lineup, but if he's going to get 15 to 20 touches in the event that Barkley goes down, you want him on your bench there. Justin Jackson can still run, man. There's a certain guy, Cease, that the problem isn't that they can't play, so they can't stay healthy. That's been Justin Jackson's problem. And we're seeing again, he can play, and that this Lions running game is a good running game. DeAndre Swift, we already know about his potential problems with availability. We've already seen it in each of the first 2 years of his career. So you're not that far away from Justin Jackson mattering. Like you mentioned, Cease, backup running backs in Denver, potentially Mike Boone in a few weeks, Marlon Mack right now. As soon as you see these guys get promoted, maybe we should have a 1%er for Tristan Ebner, right? As soon as these guys are one injury away from 15 to 20 touches a week, that should put them on your radar. And we don't know which ones. This week it was Samaje Perine. Who's it going to be next week? And again, I want to say you want to focus on, for instance, in Denver, you mentioned Marlon Mack because to the best of our ability to know, Cease, he's going to be the backup, right? Are they going to add another running back this week?
They'll promote Divine to Zigbo.
Okay, so is Zigbo, but it was
Max the backup.
Max been with the team. Yeah. So
Yes.
I mean, as soon as you know there's clarity who's the number 2, then you want to be thinking about adding that player, no matter how bad the situation is. It's almost December.
It is almost that time once again, or I guess it is that time. Okay, everybody, this is how we do it on this show on this day. In this week, it is time to go to the wide receiver position, which means we go to Dr. Gene Brammel's injury report, injury rounds available at footballguys.com. You want some follow-up appointments? Well, we're waiting on Ja'Marr Chase. They had said the plan is to be back week 12. Is that actually going to be the plan now? Ian Rappaport had suggested that Ja'Marr Chase would return in week 12, but it's unlikely. He'll be cleared for contact to be in a game condition less than 10 days after requiring a month to rest on crutches. So looks like maybe week 13 or week 14. Just keep an eye on it as the week goes on. You want more goodness for injury reports, then you go check out Dr. Gene Brammel's report at footballguys.com. Traylon Burks needs his own section, Bloom.
Yeah.
One, it's not necessarily, it's weird, because Titans fans took issue when I was like, Burks had like one of the worst off seasons anyone could have. And then they brought up, was it Foster? Who was the tackle that they took from Georgia in the first round that was like no
Isiah
good?
Wilson.
Oh, Wilson. Yeah. Why did I say Foster? Anyway, so like, okay, yes, I'm talking about skill position players. But Traylon Burks got compared to Deebo Samuel. He's not. Had to replace AJ Brown. He can't. Had whatever conditioning problems during mandatory minicamp and everything, bunch of drops. Then he's been hurt, like all of this negative stuff for Traylon Burks, but now healthy, back, and they're using him, Bloom. This kind of ties in with your Ryan Tannehill thing.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because he's not getting 100% of the snaps or 90% of the snaps. He's a player that they're mixing in. And this is a good discussion too. Jamal Williams is another one where I know there's been a big, more attention, big rise of the idea of looking at usage stats, right? Rate, participation stats. And Traylon Burks is probably going to stay about a 60% guy, I would imagine. But it doesn't matter because when he's on the field, they're targeting him. Now, with all the Tennessee passing game, they probably would prefer not to have to rely on Ryan Tannehill in the passing game. But then again, this week against Cincinnati, they should. So Burks is just one of those players that it's not going to be Kadarius Toney. Remember that?
Right.
They got us again. By the way, Cecil in the chat room, they're mentioning Samaje Perine was your sleeper of the week last week.
Oh, wow.
You're never going to top that as a sleeper of the week hit. Someone even came to me and said, Sig, wasn't Samaje Perine your sleeper of the week? No, that was Cecil. I don't want to sound so disappointed, but Traylon Burks is definitely a player that it's more to play keep away, even if you don't need him, if they can get this going with the explosiveness. And more than the explosiveness, I think it's just defenses that are focused on Derrick Henry. And I feel like, unlike Baltimore, and it's going to be really interesting if Tennessee and Baltimore play again in the playoffs, because on one hand, you have Baltimore, where you have Lamar Jackson, who's this force the defenses are just obsessed, mesmerized by. And then somehow they can't use that to create offense. And with Tennessee, it's just the opposite. They're doing right. They're having Derrick Henry throw at the goal line. Isn't that showing you that their head's in the right place?
Yep.
Everybody's going to overplay Derrick Henry, the runner now. So the counter with everybody back on board in the passing game. Can you tell I'm excited about this Tennessee team? Maybe in this chaotic year. Remember, they played Kansas City right down to the wire without Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
So Tennessee,
right where they want them.
I see you, Tennessee.
I see you. Josh Palmer, 20 to 40%. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 15 to 30%. And let's throw in Sky Moore. Been waiting for that one, Bloom.
Sure.
10 to 20%. Darius Slayton, 10 to 20%. I remember arguing with Broncos beat writers, and God bless beat writers and reporters and everyone, because there's a lot of people that just, that's their job. And they don't like actually analyze the game or think critically about the game. They just show up and report on what they're seeing, which is fine, right? It's totally fine. I'm not being judgmental, but I am being judgmental, totally judgmental. But I remember arguing with people out at the Valley because they're like, Kansas City's going to go down this year because no Tyreek Hill. I'm like, oh God. Do you know Sky Moore? Do you know Sky Moore? Do you know Isiah Pacheco? Like, okay, now these rooks are coming through for Kansas City. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. We go down this list here. Again, and the numbers are going up, right? Josh Palmer, I don't know if Mike Williams is going to be back or not. Palmer had a huge game. You see that chemistry developing. And even if Mike Williams comes back, Palmer can have some what the heck flex appeal with that chemistry. Donovan Peoples-Jones scoring in his hometown of Detroit. Deshaun Watson's going to be back going against Tampa this week. Peoples-Jones has been incredibly consistent. If he had just gotten off to a little better start, he would be on pace for a 1,000-yard season right now. Sky Moore and Cecil, it isn't just, I want to just take a moment out to appreciate this because we see how much Tyreek Hill has changed the Miami offense, right? So you take that away from the Kansas City offense, you don't even notice it. Oh, and then you lose Juju Smith-Schuster, right? And Kadarius Toney, whatever. You don't even notice it, right? So it's Sky Moore's turn. I don't know if Juju is going to be back this week, but just because it's Kansas City, it's Patrick Mahomes, and you saw Sky Moore do some stuff after Kadarius Toney went out, then you want to make sure you give him some love there. Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson actually had a breakout game, tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So Darius Slayton's playing well. Giants playing Dallas on Thanksgiving. Put in Darius Slayton as your wide receiver 3 flex and see what happens. And it's really great to see Darius Slayton doing this. And I was talking to Dan Sneer. I'm sorry if I got your last name. I don't know if I've ever talked to you know exactly how to say your last name, Dan. But we were just talking about Darius Slayton. I said, we had that great rookie year. And then we have this year. What happened in between? What's the one word that comes up, Cease? Confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence is back. You can have some confidence putting him in your lineup.
That's right. That is right. Confidence, people. That's what we continue on with our next group. And look at the confidence. Jameson Williams. I love him. 7 to 15%. Bloom, I might have him a little higher, but that's just me.
Sure.
Waiting with anticipation. And it's for the fantasy playoffs, right? Because we're still a couple weeks away from the start of the fantasy playoffs. So Jameson Williams could be back, and then let him warm up. And by the time fantasy playoffs get here, he will be rolling. At least I hope so. Demarcus Robinson, 5 to 10%. Although it's so difficult to trust Baltimore receivers.
Yeah.
Robert Woods, as you mentioned, Randall Cobb is there as well. Where's love for my man Kendall Hinton? Right.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll continue to get some work in. Let's throw him in as a 1% there because every team needs a Kendall Hinton.
That's fair. And we'll have one addition from the night game. Jameson Williams, like you said, 7 to 15% might be conservative. He's going to be activated from IR, and he can be that kind of instant impact player. He can be one of those players as soon as he gets on the field.
He can win your league.
And he much like Traylon Burks, he could get on the field 50% of the snaps and still win your league and wow, is that going to be exciting? It's an exciting time to be a Lions fan.
Yeah.
It was exciting at the beginning of the year. Got a little rough. Got the Rams first round pick. Got Jameson Williams. Demarcus Robinson, and this is kind of an Occam's waiver situation. I'm being formalistic about this because I don't think Demarcus Robinson is going to remain the number 1 receiver. I don't hope not that the Ravens are going to remain pass heavy. What? When Gus Edwards is back, when J.K. Dobbins is back, maybe they'll claim Melvin Gordon. That they will have a more balanced offense. But when you see what Demarcus Robinson did, and it's not the first game that he's been productive with Lamar Jackson, then you have to at least add him and maybe not use him, but keep him away from someone else's bench where he might start to do this every week. Greg Dortch, waiting for news on Rondale Moore's injury, left very early in the game Monday night. Greg Dortch, productive. And we know that slot receiver is going to be productive. Now, Marquise Brown's going to be back probably next week. Not sure what the staying power of the slot receiver is going to be when it's Hopkins and Brown, no Ertz. Still, so Dortch, you're not going to empty the wallet Now, if we hear that Rondale Moore's injury is more serious, we might move up that number for Greg Dortch. Robert Woods is kind of a 1%er. I mean, he's injury depth for you. He's emergency depth, like Randall Cobb, like Kendall Hinton. But there's a little bit of upside here in that you might be seeing him start to feel like himself now, about a year removed from that ACL tear. I guess we can put in Odell Beckham as a 1%er also.
Yeah, I was going to ask, where do you put ODB? And then is it more than 1%?
Here's the problem. K1 asked about Occam's waiver. I think it was Jared. What's up, Jared? Who coined that, which is just you take the highest score from the previous week, and that's the top waiver wire pickup, and that's DeMarcus Robinson, right? And sometimes you're telling yourself a story of, well, how's not going to let it. Sometimes you just pick up the highest scorer. Just look at the waiver wire. Who was the highest scorer that's available last week? Pick that guy up. That's DeMarcus Robinson. And Odell Beckham, here's my thing about Odell Beckham, Cease. He is just 9 months removed from surgery. And I love Odell Beckham. And I think that for the Cowboys, if you're adding Odell Beckham, you're adding him for January. You're adding him for February.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what Beckham's going to do. Now, I understand, like we talked about some of these other guys, to play keep away because, hey, if Beckham shows up and it's just Odell Beckham. But I think there's medical science in the way here that 9 months removed from surgery, he's just not going to be able to be, at least not in the first couple. And if the Cowboys ask him to do that, well, it's the Cowboys, so they commit a lot of malpractice, you know.
Yeah, Jerry, the problem is like it makes sense if they pick him up and then play him in January, but it's Jerry.
Yeah,
they'll pick him up and Jerry be like, get out there, we'll sell some jerseys.
So, I understand picking up Odell, especially in dynasty leagues. I think there's still a lot of leg left there for him. This year, we'll see. And I'm more inclined to let somebody else. I mean, I say a 1% or 3%. I'm more inclined to let someone else pay big now that his name is getting more in the news. But hey, I'd love to see it. And it's the Cowboys, and it makes sense for them to make that push. They just need to take away Mike McCarthy's headset.
That's right. You almost sounded like Bernie Mac on Players Club there, Bloom.
Yeah.
In the news. Bucket naked. Sorry, Joe, I guess. I don't know. Either way, we'll quote Players Club. We'll quote Dr. Gene Bramall as we go to the tight end position next and talk about some of these tight ends that can help you and your fantasy team. But first, the Monday injury rounds. It's available at footballguys.com. Dallas Goedert, left shoulder subluxation.
Yeah.
See, that's why we need Dr. G.
It's also, I've heard that's a great new hardcore band out there.
Okay. It's like Deicide, right? There you go. Speaking of hardcore, why is my phone ringing? Oh, okay. It's Raj. Left shoulder sublation, injured reserve, target week 15 plus. You want more? Then you go to, of course, footballguys.com. Sorry, Bloom. Let's take over the tight ends. Right. Juwan Johnson, 10 to 20%. Logan Thomas, 10 to 20% as well. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, not really, big season changers here, but Juwan Johnson, 5 touchdowns in 5 weeks. Andy Dalton's still going to be the starter. Logan Thomas, he's back, and Taylor Heineke getting him involved. Thomas had a really rough injury, an ACL plus injury, and that he was even on the field earlier this year before he hurt his calf was a surprise. But this is another one of those situations where when players are coming back from catastrophic injury surgeries the previous year, we have to be open to the possibility that they're starting to feel like themselves now, and numbers certainly back that up for Logan Thomas and the Washington Commanders. I just want to say I love Ron Rivera. Forever get into Riverboat Ron and tactics and stuff. When you see Ron Rivera, and his aura, not to mention he's one of the only Hispanic coaches. It doesn't you want to? I mean, his mom just
it's
died.
Like orange around him, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like Dave Chappelle, Rick James. Like, come here.
He seems like he really does seem like one of the genuine good guys in the NFL. So it's fun watching Washington go on this kind of run.
It's fun watching Washington, and I think I saw Juwan Johnson at the Shrine game. So there you go. I did see Logan Thomas at the Senior Bowl, and there was a very well-known draft analyst that thought he was like a top quarterback. I'm not going to tell any. I won't speak out of turn, Bloom. Actually, he's kind of one of our friends, so I don't want to say anything. But like,
geez,
I remember arguing.
That's worse than saying that he thought that he was going to be a good quarterback. He's kind of a friend.
I remember.
acquaintance?
Well, he's
We
my
run in
friend.
the same circles.
I'm not sure if he's your friend. I don't know. But I
Oh.
remember arguing at a barbecue spot at Saucy Q, and I was just like, Logan Thomas can't play, man. He's like, no, he's a quarterback. I'm like, no, he can't play.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought Paxton Lynch could play. So what the hell do I know? Austin Hooper, 3 to 5%. Lawrence Cager, 1%. Jonas Smith, 1%. By the way, I talked to Chad Kelly's insurance agent yesterday, Bloom, because he happens to be mine as well. Grey Cup winner for Chad Kelly.
He's not done, Cease. He's not done.
If
He's not done.
The Halloween party and he got beat up by a vacuum hadn't happened.
Yeah.
Remember, it was that week I asked Vance Joseph, do you trust Chad Kelly? And he's like, we completely trust Chad Kelly. And then like the next day he was cut.
Hey, I mean, the NFL is not the shortage of quarterbacks continues to be a real thing in the NFL.
Bring him back.
Bring him back. He's not done. If Matt Waldman says the guy can play, then the guy can play. Exactly. That's not the question. The question isn't whether Chad Kelly can play. Chad Kelly can play.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is absolutely
won a Grey Cup.
North of the border, they know about him. South of the north border, they know about Austin Hooper. And it's that Tennessee passing game. 2 touchdowns. Geez, that makes him like a top 3 tight end option in this past week. So we'll see what happens there. Lawrence Cager, another converted wide receiver. And we'll see about when Daniel Bellinger's back. I think in the next couple of weeks, we might be talking about Daniel Bellinger on some playoff waiver wires. But for now, Lawrence Cager on Thanksgiving against Dallas. You could do worse than that. Johnny Smith caught all 4 of the targets he got. I would say if you have to go to a desperation play again on Thanksgiving, New England going against Minnesota, Johnny Smith getting involved also as a runner. So, yeah, that's where we're at on the waiver wire at tight end. Lawrence Cager. We made it.
How many times have we talked about Lawrence Cager? Well, we're here. Yeah. This is what you need at the tight end position to make it right. That's right. And what is that it for tight ends? Yeah, that's it for tight ends.
We got to make some other things right.
Why does tight end so? Anyway, teams need to start looking at more converted quarterbacks and find those. There's more Taysom Hills out there. There's more Jawan Johnsons out there. There's more Logan Thomases out there. There's more of them out there. Teams, open up your mind, Craig. That's what they need to do. Speaking of opening up your mind, it is time to get it going with the part that we love to call audience participation. And if you're new here, please give us a couple of weeks. And if you don't like the show after 2 weeks, give us 2 more weeks. But either way, we appreciate you for being here. We appreciate you for joining in on the Audible. So if you're new here and you don't know what's going on, one, it's week 12. I don't know why you would. I really need some new advice in week 12. But either way, you're here and we're happy. So thank you for that. Make sure to do those YouTube things like comment, share, subscribe, notification bell, blah, 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 blah. But
number 2, move the mic.
Yes. Number 2, move it. Move it. Whenever
I am Ian's cat reminded me to do that.
Oh, okay. There you go.
New Audible
sure to move it. Yes. So every week you're just thinking, Bloom, I got some stuff to say, but not today. I'm sorry. I won't have time after the show. But there are things out there that are frustrating. It's frustrating, right? Like it's frustrating. I'm going to quote every single movie in my head right now. But anyway, like you want to let it go. Yeah. You got to let it out, which means you got to scream. And yes, you must shout. And join in with me as we say, cue the Chuck D! Week 12 shutdowns.
Yeah. I'm Cecil Lammey, and I'm here to say I'm feeling a little tired. Not today. Today, Matthew Stafford, Zach Wilson, anyone quarterback leagues, there's nothing there. 2 quarterback superflex maybe. Dropping Darrell Henderson and not waiting around to see what happened. Jaylen Warren, not waiting around to see what happened. James Robinson, I think you're dropping James Robinson for Latavius Murray, James Cook, Samaje Perine types. He got outsnapped by Ty Johnson in a close game. What's going on there? Dante Foreman, this is like one of those rides where you're going to puke. You're holding on to him unless it's for Isiah Pacheco, unless it's for Latavius Murray. Would you rather Dante Foreman or Latavius Murray? Like, Foreman has more game, but Murray's offense might be better. At least there's a functional quarterback for the Broncos. So it gives you an idea. Like Traylon Burks, Josh Palmer, Dante Foreman. It almost seems like you're going to get induced into playing him in the worst possible week. Gus Edwards, another injured running back, and he's might be healthy enough to play this week. They're going up against Jacksonville. I might play Gus Edwards as a flex play. J.K. Dobbins is going to be back soon. I don't know if I trust Gus Edwards to stay healthy. I might be dropping Gus Edwards for Dontrell Hilliard, for instance. If we're talking about the possibility or odds of a player really affecting your season, with Gus Edwards not being able to play out of the bye, I think that number is going down. Kadarius Toney, the moment you've been waiting for. Yeah. See, isn't this what Q the Chuck D was invented for? Right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, and we have all our shows archived, so I could somehow find it when we did the first Q the Chuck D. But I was like, no, this is why you do it.
This is why you do it. And look, this is a classic sabotage drop. I mean, he's a sabotage. This is a Q the Beastie Boys for Kadarius Toney, because everywhere he's going, he's sabotaging fantasy teams. He's sabotaging GM careers. He's sabotaging draft picks. And Toney, maybe it was a minor hamstring. Maybe he'll go off for 10 for 130 yards against the Rams. And then the next week, everyone will pick him up and play him. It's a microcosm. See, it's that fractal. Every little mini episode is his career, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, look at him play. I want to have that. I want to have that on my team. Whether you're a GM, whether you're a fantasy player, he's on my team. I'm going to use him. Hey, actually, I can't play. And we start the cycle over again. So dropping Kadarius Toney, again, the sabotage drop, you do it before the waiver wire run. So people spend money, valuable waiver wire money on him. But I understand at this point, if you say, I'm not going on that ride anymore. Again, with the vomiting at the amusement park, right? I puked once. I had to go buy a new t-shirt, crappy t-shirt I didn't want, so I could have something to wear for the rest of the day. I'm not going on that ride again. So yes, Kadarius Toney. I mean, if we're going to be technical about it, like I don't know if I would drop Kadarius Toney for just anybody like Randall Cobb or Kendall Hinton or something like that. But I understand doing it from the emotions and from the emotions. Yeah, you know how I thought of Boys to Men. I can't sing like Boys to Men. You know.
But you can say it on all the Philly steak you can eat.
Right.
That.
Yeah, to the end of the road, because I can't let you go. Kyle Pitts, you belong to the waiver wire. You're not on my team. You're not on my team. Yeah, Kyle Pitts on IR. And all those times, should we drop him? Should not dropped him. Shouldn't have drafted him. I learned that the hard way last year. A lot of people learned it the hard way this year. That means nobody's going to take him next year, Cease. That's going to be the year he goes off. But it's sad. It's a sad thing, but it's always good when we go back into our memories and Boys to Men.
And Boys to Men. That's right. And let's get to the other part. Around Boys to Men, Wilson Phillips. Right?
Jason says the dogs are howling in Evans.
Oh, yeah. One of these days, we're gonna get Jason on the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bring him in.
Like, yeah, where's your deep fried Snickers?
Well, see, we can bring him in. It's like, don't a lot of radio shows have that third person that just chimes in whenever they feel like it? Exactly. Sometimes it's even like embarrassing or wrong or off color or has nothing to do with what you're talking about. But that's the point.
Yes.
You just give them a mic and headphones. And be like, whenever you have something to say it. That could be really bad. That's on Sorry Joe Plus. That's how we launched Sorry Joe Plus.
Yes. Sorry Joe Plus is launched.
Now with extra Jason. Wow.
Now with more stoners. Anyway, Sorry Joe. From Boys to Men to Wilson Phillips, because it's time to hold on, Bloom. Who are those players?
There aren't many. I mean, Justin Fields, you got to hold on to until we find out more. Again, look, Matt Eberflus didn't say he could be out for the season, but he didn't rule out that it was a season-ending injury. You're going to hold on and see what happens there. Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, it's because there can be a quarterback change. So hold on to hope. Mike Williams, hopefully it wasn't a serious issue and just a tweak. So and we may look back and say you should have dropped him, but I'm going to wait because it's Mike Williams. He can take over a game. Hopefully, maybe you wait, get rewarded in the playoffs. I hope everybody gets the rewards they're looking for from fantasy. And it's a great week, a great holiday week. We're going to be back tomorrow for another one of our great rituals. It's wonderful walking through the calendar with you, with all of our people, making dogs howl and all the other things we do.
I know, man. And that would just, we could bring people in every week and we could just talk, right? That's the show within the show. Sorry, Joe Plus.
Yeah.
That's right. It could have everything that we've ever dreamed of.
This is, I mean, see, I wasn't even bold enough to dream of this. Whenever I used to, one of my joys, the World Cup's been going on. I don't know if you heard Saudi Arabia beat Argentina.
Once every 4 years, Americans pretend to care. But anyway.
Yeah, I actually care. But
I know.
Look. Whether it's the World Cup or playoff baseball, that's another one. Oh, the World Cup's not supposed to be in November. Playoff baseball is a good one. The NCAA basketball tournament is another good one. When there are sports on during the day. And when I was just a kid, I had a dream. My dream, here was my dream, basically, that I could be doing my job while I watch sports. I mean, we went one step further and made part of our job watching sports. But I never could have dreamed that in the future, because I still thought it was going to be like the good old broadcast journalism, which was a terrible job. Sorry for folks out there. Broadcast journalism, like the by the book WNBC, right? Broadcast journalism is not a good job. I mean, it's if you get to the level of the Cecil Lammey, it starts to become good, but you got to pay your dues for a long time.
You know what Legwald said?
What do you
Legwald told me, he said, we love this business a lot more than it loves us.
Well, sure, the job's not going to love you back, McNulty. The job's not going to love you back. Yeah, and I was just bold enough to think one day I hope I have a job where I can watch sports while I'm doing the job, or maybe even watching sports and talking about it and writing about it can be the job. But the internet has ushered in this other chapter, which is almost too good for people like you and me, where it really just asks us to just be ourselves. Just turn on the light, turn on the camera and microphone, and just be yourself. I wasn't even bold enough to dream that in the future I could collect a paycheck just by being Sigmund Bloom. But it's only because of all these great people out there. It's only because of the support of all these people, or else we would just be being ourselves for nothing.
Right. Who wants that? Anyway, WNBC. Now you got me thinking about sitting on a speaker. Anyway, that is a wrap for the Week 12 Waiver Wire show. We certainly appreciate every single one out there. Chat room, love y'all. Make sure to do those things. YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe. Watch the video all the way to the end because that helps the algorithm. And we are but mere, we're in the mere presence of our YouTube overlord. So there we go. That's a wrap. He's Sigmund. And by the way, programming note, we will be doing a Thanksgiving preview show on Wednesday morning at our normal time. So that'll include the 3 games for Thanksgiving. We'll take Thanksgiving off. Right. Thank you all. On Friday morning, then, we will have the rare Friday morning Audible, and we will preview the rest of the Week 12 games. So that's coming up Friday at our normal time. So stay tuned for that. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Until the next time, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and please, can you just stay frosty?